Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Guys, Luigi, my name, and thank you for being here. I'm one of the co-founders of EDLIGO, also managing director at EDLIGO. We are a talent analytics company based out of Ingolstadt, so in south of Germany. And we are here today with our partner, Stefan Walter from MSG.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining the stage together with you. So I'm pleased to talk to you together about transformation into skill-based organization. So myself, I'm in charge of competency management solutions at MSG, and it's good to talk about here today.
So let's dive into it. Today we're going to be talking about skills, why it's very important to transform our organizations, our customers into skills-based organizations, and how talent analytics, how AI can help doing that. So these are the topics we'll be looking at today. So some of the trends that are impacting the world of work, the skills-based organization as a solution, how AI can help us realize that, some practical use cases, and Stefan will be telling us a bit about how to implement that. So we kept the hard part to Stefan. I'm going to do the easy part, yeah? And then we'll talk about some of the customer benefits. Now, what we have here are some of the trends that are impacting the world of work. So if I put myself in the shoes of a CHRO, I wake up in the morning and I need to think, what are the trends that are impacting the world of work that I need to worry about? And there are external trends and internal ones. So let's start with the external trends. So first of all, this AI job disruption. The World Economic Forum says 25% of the jobs will be disrupted in the next 5 years. Now, the World Economic Forum said that a few months back. Whether it's going to be 25%, 30, 50, we don't know. What we know is AI is disrupting many jobs. Many jobs are disappearing right now. Some of them are replaced, but it's also creating jobs at the same time. The second trend that is very important, it's decarbonization and the move to the green economy. And that's a very important trend that is creating more jobs than it's destroying, actually. So it is taking away some jobs, but it's also creating jobs. And the third topic is talent scarcity. So in many regions of the world, we have a problem of talent. We do not get as many people as we would like to keep our organizations afloat. Now, that's on the external trends. But we're not done. So internally, we're also looking into many trends that are quite heavy to deal with. So the problem of skills obsolescence. So the skills that I need today to do my work are not the skills that I needed 3 years back. And the pace of change is gaining in velocity. The second topic is skills visibility. So even if I wanted to challenge this and then to look into this problem in detail, I would have an issue as CHRO because usually CHROs are not equipped with the tools that give them this visibility. And the third topic is retention. And so we would like to work more on retaining employees, but the demands for employees are changing. Now I'm going to show some numbers on the skills, the shifting skills first. So 65% of employees report that the skills they're using right now for their jobs are very different or are different from the skills they were using 2 years back. And 10% of C-level people only 10% know what they're doing about skills. The rest, the 90%, they say we're really clueless about what the skills we need in future to keep our organizations up and running. The second, here, the other chart I wanted to show is on this change in employee demands. Now, this is very interesting. If we asked people before COVID, what are your key priorities or key areas of focus that you would like an organization to have to join them, they would tell you compensation was very important before COVID. Now, if we ask people, they will tell you ESG values. That's a big change, right? So who would have thought that ESG values are important? They will tell you an organization that values skills is the organization that we would like to work for. Now, so we talked about the problem. We're going to talk about the solution now. And the solution is this, or this is part of the solution, which is building a skills-based organization. And I quite like this very simple representation from Josh Bersin, which explains what a skills-based organization is. So we traditionally were thinking in jobs and job roles in all organizations. CHROs, they know the jobs of people, they know probably the roles if they're assigned to projects. But what we never captured, we never worried about, are the capabilities and the skills of people. And the far we move to the right, the better we get into building what we call a skills-based organization. And as you see, the more we move to the right, the more data points we have about our people, so the more we can work with analytics tools and AI. Now, once we have captured that skills, or once we have, let's say, started capturing that skills, we need to organize these skills. And for that, we need something we call a skills hub or a skills management platform, which you see here, the right in the middle. Based on that, we can run analytics, we can run intelligence, we can run a lot of AI use cases, algorithms, that help us do things much better in HR. And these things can be organizational design, they can be talent management, we can do compensation and benefits in a better way, we can do staffing in a better way, we can do learning management in a better way, and so on. So the use cases are actually endless, but what's important to retain here, once we work at that skill level in the organization, then the HR function becomes much more performant. It becomes a highly performing organization that is really delivering value to the business. And now I'd like to talk about some concrete use cases, about how that works and why AI is important for that. I'll start with the first example, which is the organizational design. That's one of the most complex problems. Usually we do it not based on data, and that's why most of the reorganization initiatives fail. Many of you work here in large organizations, and you will know that many of these reorg initiatives fail. Why? Lack of data. Now, if we make better use of skills, we make better use of AI, then we can answer questions like, what characterizes a highly performing department? It's certainly the skills of people. There are other features, obviously, but the skills of people and the combination of these skills is what characterizes a highly performing department. What would happen if I move one colleague from a department A to department B? That's also an interesting use case that AI can help us on, and so on. I mean, there are many, many use cases that will make simply our reorganization or reorg design work much better. The second use case I'd like to talk about is upskilling. What you see here on the chart is a quite complex thing, but it's very easy, actually. What it says as an employee moves from one career step to the next, the employee needs to gain in terms of skills and competencies. And the velocity of gaining in these skills is becoming very, very important. And the skills that are required from one step to the next, or the skills change, is huge. And so you see from level 1 to level 2, which is a maintenance supervisor, in this example, it's 33%, then 47% to the next level, and so on. And how were we solving this problem traditionally? We were solving this problem with a department that is looking after learning, and we have learning management colleagues, and they create these learning plans for employees. And if we used AI, then what happens is the following, right? We could capture the skills, competencies of every employee. We could have that on a spider chart, as you see on the left, and AI will guide us through the best possible learning plan for the employee to cover the current skills gap, but also to move on to the next level. Now, I'd like to ask a question here to the room. Who is using AI today to create learning plans for employees? If you're using that, please raise your hand. No one? It's a very shy answer.
3 or 4.
5 people, right. I was expecting a little bit more. But this is an important problem, and it's a huge problem, actually, because usually you're dealing with a very large training catalog, thousands of training. You have thousands of employees, and you need to do a matching exercise. And if you do it by hand, the results are not always optimal, and that's why AI is important. The second or the third use case I'd like to talk about is career mobility. Many employees are leaving organizations today because they think there are no career development possibilities. And many of them, before leaving the organization, they don't even look internally because simply they don't know where to look. Many organizations do not have this transparency on jobs and job possibilities. Now, if we used AI and we used a skills-based organization, then we can open up to our employees. We can tell every employee, based on your skills, you can take this job, the other job, etc. And if you build a little bit more of skills, and so if you acquire additional skills and competencies, then you can go to the next level. And there is the technical term for that in our industry is called the talent marketplace right now. But talent marketplace is nothing else than capturing skills and showing employees development opportunities. And that's good for employees, but also good for HR department, because when you have your discussions with employees, you can tell them, look, you can go here left, you can go right, you can become a manager, director, and so on. Now, recruiting colleagues have also a lot to do, and they're actually overwhelmed these days because they have to hire more and more people. Most of them are not really very well equipped with the tools they have at hand. And if we used AI, then we can do the following. What we can do is, out of CVs, right, that we get from thousands or hundreds of applicants, we can create profiles of the applicants and map them to the current jobs that we have in the organization. That what you see on the right side is a competency profile of a job, and to which degree there is an adequacy of a certain applicant to that competency profile. So before having to deal with 100 people and interview 100 people, you can actually reduce your problem space. Now you can deal with 10 people instead of 100. And AI is becoming very powerful on that. Now, another thing I'd like to talk about is what we see here, which is creating a competency, the competency model or skills model. Everybody calls it differently. This is a fundamental step to turn your organization into a skills-based organization. And actually, this is the most difficult step. So usually, what we see with our customers is, when we get to this step here, we say, okay, let us now think about the competency model for the next 3 years, 5 years. That's when we start having difficulties, because at this point of time that you need to make decisions. It forces HR departments, it forces CEOs to think about a competency model that is good for now and good for the future. Now, this is a representation from AI HR, and it shows the steps that you usually go through. Yeah. This is usually a tedious exercise. Many people shy away with it. Now, the good news is, with the help of AI, specifically Gen AI, right? So Gen AI, I think everybody is by now familiar with that. ChatGPT is one use case or example of Gen AI. What we can do is we can look into all this unstructured data. So we have job descriptions, we have industry benchmarks, we have some policies, regulations, we have observations about our employees while they're doing their work, and so on. There are many data we're collecting about our employees, but usually that data is not reflected into a competency model. The good thing is, with the help of Gen AI, we can shorten this process of creating a competency model. So we can feed all that into a Gen AI engine, and we can get a start or a kick, our competency model creation work kick-started with the help of Gen AI. So this was, let's say, all theoretical so far, although we've implemented it in various settings. Now Stefan is going to tell us on how to do all these steps or all these use cases step by step. Stefan, over to you.
Thanks a lot. That's kind. So yeah, how to approach all this? What you just have seen is this skill framework, and what I would like to emphasize is that all these different kind of thoughts and ideas and transparency is actually linking together 3 different dimensions. One is actually the strategic level. One is, let's say, the line of business level, and the third one is the employee level. And it's very important from our perspective to link all this together. And when you start creating this skill framework, what Kais just said is actually that you build this overall strategic framework, but link it then with the step 2, what we call the job architecture and the detailed competence levels. Be detailed competence models. And these competence models actually describes in detail which kind of skills are necessary to perform a certain job. And this is then linked to the strategic level, and together with the history and the experiences and the as-is skills of the employees. So by doing this, you actually can set up an as-is analysis of the current competences in your organization, and on the other hand, define a future skill set, a future business / competence model where to go to. And this is normally done by using a central, what we call ontology, an ontology based on a skill hub. And this skill hub consists of about 30,000 skills, which are all connected. It's not a standard database, which more or less is consisting of a simple set of skills. It's dynamically updated by the internet data, for instance, or by community data. It's connected to each other with some kind of relationships, so which actually gives more insights into the relationships between two different skills or competences, for instance. So on the left-hand side, you see a set of source systems with some kind of data, unstructured data, and these kind of data, for instance, can be HR systems, like SAP SuccessFactors, but these can always also be, and these can also,
Yes, Stefan, you have a little connection problem, I think.
Okay.
Maybe I will turn off the mic that you have there, and then you take this one, please. Is this working? Yeah.
Hello, hello. Okay, so this is then connected to this ontology by using AI technologies, for instance, like text extraction or semantic matching of skills and competencies, for instance, by using generative AI. And this all then helps us to get this end-to-end transparencies, which then can be used on the right-hand side for different types of people, like, for instance, for sourcing or staffing managers, for HR people, for defining new business models, and so on and so forth. When we go a little bit deeper, we see here on the left-hand side the job and architecture design. So this is the strategic level, where we have a different job model templates and HR job roles. And in the middle, you see the different kind of detailed competence models with the operational job roles. For instance, as an example, if you're in the software industry, you have a job role. You have a job role like cloud architect, and then you have a set of skills like DevOps engineering, cloud development, and things like that. And this is then described in the middle and by using the competence models and is linked to the overall job architecture. And this all together then gives the possibility for upskilling, reskilling, and so on and so forth, because we have all these kind of data and systems linked together, and then based on that we can define the different kind of career paths and so on and so forth. An example I would like to bring is this example here. Think about your homepage. On your homepage, so we at MSG, for instance, we have 400, 500 currently open job postings. It's quite difficult for an applicant to find the right job. So what we would like to do is then we would like to give the applicant some more comfort. But for instance, when an applicant uploads the CV, we actually identify the best matching job postings for this applicant and then matching to them and showing them so that the applicant can directly apply to this job posting where we think might be best fit to the applicant and not vice versa. And this is done actually by defining, of course, these competence models and by defining the upskilling and reskilling path. So we know which kind of skills are really missing. So we actually are creating job postings based on this skill set, and then we do this matching. So all this together then helps us to get more transparency throughout the landscape and actually help organizations to go into a skill-based organization, because we actually know what an employee has been done in the past, where the strengths are, what is required, and what actually would like to do on a strategic level. So this is all, as I said, linked to each other. So what we can do is then we can make a migration forecast, we can better do strategic workforce planning because we actually know which kind of capabilities we have in our organization. We can even better create individual career paths because, again, based on our data we are having, and at the end we can really show which kind of competencies are most used and have the most impact on the productivity, and based on that, of course, we see which kind of skills are missing in our organization so we can hire, upskill or reskill. So what are actually then the benefits from our point of view? First of all, it's very important then that we much have a higher chance to retain our high performers, because we actually know who our high performers are before we don't It's quite simple. And secondly, it has a very strong impact on our workforce experience. So why is that? Because we actually consider not just the skills which are used in some kind of projects, we actually use the preferences, the employee preferences. So actually these kind of skills and competencies employees would like to use because they learned it, because they like it, and we include this kind of skills in any kind of decision process as well. So for instance, when someone is applying, when an internal employee is applying for another project, we are using these kind of preferences for this application, and on the other hand, the project manager sees that a person has this kind of skill as a preference, so he can be sure that this person is then performing well at this point of view. And on the other hand, we are much more likely to be agile. Because now when we have this transparency, we do have it easier actually to get people out of certain projects or tasks or jobs and help them to move in other jobs and tasks, because we actually know that the skills are quite similar. And on the other hand, when we know that we need to address a certain business area, we can identify which skills are necessary, and then we see, okay, how quickly can we actually move into this area based on our skill set we have in our organization. So and this all together then helps the employee, the manager, and the HR leaders. For the employee, this is I think the most important thing, that the employees actually have a better chance to be working in jobs they really would like to do. Yeah, if I get more transparency on which jobs are actually available in my organization, and of course I have a better working path, learning path, and actually see in which direction I can really go. So it's more transparency for the employee. For the managers, it's of course very important to see that we have a very good understanding which skills and competencies I have in my organization. I can do staffing recommendations. I can better identify people for my projects. And of course, prediction is very important as well. And for the HR people, more on a strategic level side, it's very good to see how many people actually have been working on a real basis for this kind of job role I have been identified maybe 10 years ago. So this again gives us a very good transparency on the evolution of the company, and helps us really on a strategic level to see which kind of generic roles I need in order to move on or maybe transform my organization. At the end, we have different kind of use cases which are used. One, for instance, is, of course, talent analytics, what EDLIGO, Kais just said, and what we've just been talking about. What, interestingly, we can combine this, for instance, with searching and matching for other people, for employees, for job postings, for projects, and so on and so forth. And at the end, for the employees themselves, it's important to have a possibility to maintain my personal profile, to, for instance, update it with my preferences I just said, and to get make a positive business card of myself in the organization, so that I can network with other people and other managers and develop myself as best as possible. Jo, that's almost it. Thanks a lot. I think we have 1 minute, 50 seconds for questions.
That's really great. Right. Let's give a big hand. So, is my mic on? Yes, wonderful. So do we have questions here? Let's see here in the room. I see here, first of all, yes, there is one question. Let me run and get you the mic, Last conference, I didn't have to run around. You had many more people to run here, So this time I'm doing this. Good exercise. Absolutely great.
Yes, I have two questions. Very often you see skills matching, translating jobs to skills, but that only solves one half, right? When you talk to business leaders, they want to know how their strategy now translates to skills. How are you solving that discussion and that dialogue? And the second question is, very often you have you may have good data, you may have sketchy data inside the business. How is labor market data from around the world, demographics? We have different types of conflicts going on. How is this driving your skills suggestions and your skills engine to make these suggestions?
Yeah, I can. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I can provide my view, and Stefan, please feel free to complement. On the first question, I think it's a very good question, by the way. Yeah. So, and very few CEOs have an answer to this question, right? So they do not really know what are the skills required. So our answer to that is the following. First of all, we need to have the baseline, because I cannot project myself in the future if I don't understand what skills do I have right now. This is one. That's what we've been predicating right now. The second thing is there are a lot of institutes out there that do research that tell you, okay, for instance, for the green economy, for decarbonization, these jobs are going to be very important, or these skills are going to be very important. They will tell you, for instance, you need mechanical engineers in the future, they need to acquire these skills, etc. So you need systems that go and capture all that data, right? And our system is one of these systems that does that. And the third part of the answer, I think, if you're in a, let's say, high-tech industry, say I'm the CEO of Apple today, right? Then I probably know what are the skills that will give me some competitive advantage in some areas, right? And so in some areas, the CEO himself or the CHRO needs to make a call, right? They would not need to only wait on what is externally there and the trends. So the trends are very good. What we are doing is excellent because it gives them a solid baseline to make decisions, but they also need to step up and say, okay, in future, for me to remain competitive and sell 50 or own 50% of the market in telecommunications or in handset devices, etc., I need to be excellent at product design, for instance, right? That's what Apple is excellent at, yeah? And that needs to go into the competency model. So anything that the CEO reflects on and thinks has to go into the competency model, yeah? And I think with my first answer, I kind of answered the second question. If you look at the European Union here, or you look at the US, there is a lot of institutions that are looking after labor data, and they can even tell you how this labor data is moving right now, and they can tell you in the next 3 years, that's the skill that is going to be very important. So important is to have systems that go capture all that data. Yeah?
Yeah, what I would like to add to that is, but it's a good possibility actually to model your future competency requirements. So, and what we normally see in our project is that when you do have some kind of market data from, let's say, from kind of job portals and things like that, and you have a possibility then to combine this together into potential job roles you need, and you have such kind of, let's say, data analytics available, it helps you actually then to define the future skills you need. And when you, as I said, when you link this together, I think this is actually a good approach.